All right, today we're diving into a really frustrating modern day mystery. You know the one, the one way texter.
I mean, you know the feeling, right? You grab your phone, you're scrolling through your messages, and then it hits you. You see this pattern. With that one friend or maybe that person you're seeing, you're always the one who has to get the ball rolling. And that's what's so confusing about it, isn't it? Because once you do start the conversation, it's awesome. They reply right away, they seem totally into it, the whole connection feels real. But if you decide to just wait for them to text you first, yeah, you could be waiting for a very long time.
So, what is really going on here? Seriously, it's the kind of question that can make you nuts. It is so easy to just jump to all sorts of conclusions and start spinning a whole story in your head about what their silence really means.
Our brains, they go right to the usual suspects. Oh, they're just not interested, I must be bothering them, or the classic, they're just playing games. But what if I told you that psychology points to something way deeper? Something that, believe it or not, might have almost nothing to do with you. So let's push back on those assumptions for a second. What if their silence isn't a scorecard for how much they like you? What if it's not some kind of power move or a big sign that they're over it, but it's actually about safety, a strategy to protect themselves? Now that changes everything, doesn't it? And this is where we get into this really key idea from psychology called avoidant attachment. So basically, it's a pattern that often gets set way back in our childhoods where someone learns to be super independent, like really self-reliant. And because of that, too much emotional closeness can feel, well, uncomfortable. So they might subconsciously push people away, not because they don't like you, but because the whole idea of intimacy feels kind of threatening to them. Okay, so that's the big picture theory. But how does that, this deep need for independence turn into something as specific as never, ever sending that first, hey, what's up text? How do we connect those dots? Well, it really comes down to three main reasons. First, a fear of rejection. Second, something called strategic scarcity. And third, a little bit of brain chemistry. Let's break each of these down. All right, first up, fear of rejection. This one is huge. It's probably the biggest driver. And a lot of the time, the person isn't even consciously aware of it. I mean, just think about it for a second. When you're the one initiating, you're putting yourself out there, right? You're vulnerable. You're saying, hey, I'm interested. But what if they don't reply? Or what if you get a one-word answer? For most of us, that's a little sting, no big deal. But for someone with this avoidance style, that can feel like a huge, massive threat. But replying? Oh, that's a totally different ballgame. Replying is safe. It's a reflex, not a risk. See, there's zero vulnerability there because the other person already showed their interest. You're just hitting the ball back over the net. You're not the one serving. And that right there, that's the whole mindset in a nutshell. If you never initiate, you completely control your emotional risk. You can't get rejected if you never ask. So for them, silence is safety. Okay, the second reason kind of builds on this idea of control. It's called strategic scarcity. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds a lot like playing games. But here's the key. It's almost always unconscious. It's not a calculated move. By making themselves less available, they subconsciously keep control of the situation, which helps them manage that internal anxiety they feel about getting too close. And the third piece of the puzzle? This one is pretty fascinating. It actually gets into brain chemistry. We're talking about our reward system and a little thing called dopamine. So here's the deal. Our brains get a kick out of new things, out of surprises. When an interaction is just always there because you're the one who always makes it happen, some of that specialness can fade. That little dopamine hit, that jolt of excitement you get when someone pops up on your screen, it can actually get a little weaker for them. Again, this isn't something they're deciding to do. It's just a subtle, subconscious thing that lowers their own motivation to reach out. So you put all that together, this deep fear of rejection, this unconscious need for control, and this weird quirk in our brain's reward system, and voila, you get the one-way texter. The most important thing to get from all of this is that their behavior is a defense mechanism. It's about their internal stuff. It is not a verdict on you. Okay, so what do you do with all this information? The whole point is to reframe things. It's about protecting your own sanity. So instead of seeing their silence as they don't like me, try seeing it as they're probably anxious. And honestly, the biggest thing is to just ask yourself, how does this whole pattern make me feel? Because you're not going to fix them. The goal is to understand what's happening so you can make a choice that's good for you. Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing you have any control over, right? Your own actions.
So now you know the why behind their behavior. Look, it doesn't make it okay, and it definitely doesn't mean you have to put up with it. But what it does do is give you power. The power to choose how you respond based on real insight instead of just guessing. So the big question is, what are you going to do with that?